Glorious. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Kirklees Guitar School Podcast. I'm joined with my co-host, Mr. George Loveridge. How you doing, George?
I'm amazing because that only took one take.
I know.
I can't believe it.
First time we got it. There's a first time for everything, isn't there? Wow. How's your week been? Rock or roll this week?
Absolute rock this week. So I'm usually on the mic here on a Thursday, filming, and Sunday goes live. I've been commentating this week.
Right.
Car stuff, not music stuff, but on the mic at two different venues. Went down very well. If anybody has heard of the Auto LX Multiverse Universe, we were working for them on Sunday, and hopefully embedded in their list of commentators to use for their live events. And you've got an illness, and it's come to me. You've got this sort of guitar buying disease.
Oh, right. I thought you were going to mean the actual illness that plagued me last week, right? Okay.
No, and we'll put it this way. I've now got a DHL tracking number.
Ooh.
So next week, maybe the week after, we'll see what rocks up. It has 6 strings and a Floyd Rose, and we'll leave it there. So a rock for me. What about you?
Right. Talk about cliffhanger. I wait for next week's episode with bated breath.
You're in the dark as much as everybody else.
Yeah. Okay. It's been a rock for me. I did the 4th gig of a 5-gig run with Northern Live. I was out in Lincoln at the weekend. I'm now nice and close to home. I'm in Barnsley this week.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, so it's like 10 minutes from my house, the venue, so that'll do.
That's really good.
I'm into that. So yeah, I've got some. I've had a great time on the. I've had a great time with this run of gigs. You know, I got the sort of upgraded to the quad and stuff, and I've been getting a lot of compliments on my guitar tone and how it sounds.
That's
and
what
stuff,
you want.
So that's what I want. Yeah, lots of things going on behind the scenes. I'm my super secret project that I keep alluding to is going we're 6 weeks from being able to tell everybody about it, and I'm super excited. I could burst, but I can't tell anyone just yet.
It's like Wallace and Gromit when he's building the rocket downstairs.
That's exactly.
You've got this evil layer.
That's exactly what's happening. Yes. So, what's on the agenda for today, Josh?
Fab. So today, a bit like with Brian May a few weeks ago, we're going neck deep for the whole show, looking at Gary Moore. We've got a few technical focus bits, a few tone talk bits. To talk about his early career in the early 70s with Lynyrd and Thin Lizzy, and then his solo stuff into the 90s. And talk about Gary Moore a little bit. This is more your bag. I'm still been influenced by him, definitely.
I get asked a lot to learn his songs, and hopefully what I've done is in planning this episode, I feel like I've kind of crammed all of the kind of little tips and tricks that just kind of add that extra 5 or 10% and make it sound more like the records without having a 100-watt Marshall behind your head screen.
Oh yeah, what do you think about the new layout, by the way?
Yeah, that's I've been
busy.
I have been busy. I've been really busy. What happens when I get more than a split second to think about something? I make more work for myself. So let us know in the comments. Tonehenge has come back.
Yes.
If you watched me for a long time, you'll remember sort of through the lockdowns and stuff, we had Tonehenge, and the art room as neighbours. The art room across the way did this lovely stencil for us. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we wanted that for the start of season 2, but we just haven't had a dry day to paint it. I think that's been the issue.
And I ended up rollering it on in the finish up.
Fair enough. Yeah, it looks good though. Well done.
Very good. Right then.
Where are we starting then with Gary Moore then?
Well, I've got on the crib sheet for his neck deep portion, Gary's musical DNA. Now, where he came from, what kind of influences that he'll have come across as a young man, which fed into Thin Lizzy and all the other stuff that he does. When I listen to his playing, especially in the earlier stuff, I hear a lot of those sort of Celtic and Irish influences, lots of triplets, lots of this kind of these sort of little runs of 3 notes. It's escaping me right now.
But yeah, no, that's fine. Being born in Belfast in 1952, that's what he would have got. I bet life was pretty tough for him growing up in the 50s in Belfast. Not as tough as being in the 80s in Belfast, but I think that historic Celtic family sort of thing, we should have gone a little bit deeper, but we're talking about his guitar work. So, Thin Lizzy, he was a stand-in in 1974.
Right.
If you look at Don't Believe a Word and stuff, on like the old grey whistle test and stuff, he was sort of in the background. He wasn't the lead guitar player's name escapes me, but in 74 he was sort of in the back, just filling a couple of harmonies. What sort of stuff did he use to create that sound that we know and love from the Jailbreak era or Don't Believe a Word? Yeah,
so we'll do a sort of dive on his tone talk towards the back end of the episode. But what I find when I listen to Gary Moore, very few guitarists that you come across that you can actually, they improve with age.
I'd agree.
Oftentimes, a lot of guitar players a lot of musicians just in general will have the difficult third album. You know, they'll have their entire life up to that date. Upon releasing that first album, they've had all that time to pull the best material.
Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Appetite for Destruction. Nailed it.
And then
There's been some good stuff, but nothing is Appetite.
Not of the same caliber at all.
Yeah.
Then you get the second album and some other ideas kind of still on the road. You haven't quite got famous yet. And then the third album, you try to battle stardom with trying to come up with songs of equal caliber, if not better, than the previous ones, with the pressures of record companies and the like. I think it's quite rare to come across somebody that improves as they go on. Now, I feel like there's been 3 kind of distinct eras in Gary Moore, and his tone follows this as well. Now, obviously the Thin Lizzy stuff, he was in bands before that, but I mean, he's most notably known for his solo career and his work with Thin Lizzy, so that's what we're concentrating on today. The early Thin Lizzy stuff, Jailbreak, you got to think it's literally just a Les Paul and a Marshall. You were fiddling with your switches like you were going to do something for a second.
Don't Believe a Word, adding a harmony there as well.
Now, look at that from, we'll get into the gear later on, but from a harmonic perspective, very riff-based.
Oh, absolutely. Because Don't Believe a Word, that riff follows the chord progression.
Yes.
So it's like a walking bass line, essentially.
But also, I feel like Thin Lizzy's, their main claim to fame, I remember a family member introducing me to Thin Lizzy, and they said, this band's got 2 lead guitarists. And I remember thinking, how does that work? Like, normally you have one on rhythm and one on lead. And as I've got older, I understood what he meant of Phil Lynott played the bass like a guitar.
He did, absolutely. Well, he played a lot of guitar for Lizzy as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Lemmy, as you say, he played it like a guitar, so effectively there's 3 going on.
And what it did was it gave that foundation for us to, like we did with Boys Are Back in Town, doing those harmonies, and there's nothing's really lost.
No,
in it.
The dynamics stay the same. We looked at Brian May, Queen. He's got all this fantastic studio overdubbing work. He's having to work overtime on a live show, and you do miss, like Killer Queen, you will never get it exactly right live because of all the different harmonies and layers.
But you listen to the Lizzy stuff from the Gary Moore era, and it's all very riff-based, very pentatonic, great lead work, lots of harmonies and things like that. But I can still tell it's kind of in his infancy of his playing.
Okay, yeah.
So then, fast forward, the Fallout, and they do the whole sort of late 80s into the mid-90s, let's say. You've got Parisienne Walkways, Out in the Fields.
No, am I right? I
that
think
kind of
Parisienne
stuff.
Walkways was 1979. Because Lynott died in 86.
Sorry, am I getting mixed up?
Yeah, I think you're moving on a little bit.
I'm, Still Got the Blues is 1990.
Sorry, I'll just push my specs up a little bit.
Hello. Right, okay, so so as you get into, Parisienne Walkways, which then eventually developed into his solo career, and you kind of get that weird kind of middle time of Out in the Fields and that kind of stuff where they're sort of made up again. And you start hearing more kind of modal influence in that. You start hearing more minor scales.
There's that big breakdown in the Fields, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't need no communication, or we need more communication. It's very different.
But it's starting to get into that kind of more kind of 80s shredder kind of thing. That's, as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, what I've been chasing.
Yeah.
Arguably, I'm in that little rut at the minute.
Cool.
And then he comes out of the other side of it, sort of from the 90s onwards, into Still Got the Blues, which kind of he uses more kind of like, still leaning on the kind of modal stuff, but heading more towards like Dorian, playing different, basically experimenting with different kinds of scales to give you different emotions. But I feel like a lot of you compare something like Parisienne Walkways to Still Got the Blues. Harmonically, Still Got the Blues is far more complex.
Even the backing.
Yeah.
And underneath it, as you say, it's all that droning synth all the way through is so deep all the way through.
But there's so many little micro movements in the bass. The lead guitar class on a Friday are currently working through that with me.
It's that that chromatic jump, the ascent.
And there's some really scary looking chords in it. I mean, over here, D minor, C, F major 7,
B minor
G
flat
over B,
5.
B minor 7,
7
flat 5.
Fair enough. It's a draw.
So I feel like as you get into the later stuff, there's more of a there's a kind of jazz influence
I would agree with that. Yeah.
that comes in. So that's what I mean. It's like a fine wine. As he got older, he did get better and better and better. So what are some sort of hallmark techniques that Gary Moore had sort of employ?
Vibrato is Gary Moore's forte. I think Gary, as you said, he plugged into a big fat Marshall and at full chat and just bent a note into oblivion and kept it there forever. If you look at his Monterey performances or any his live performance was in a big yellow jumper.
That's Montreux Jazz Festival?
That
1993.
Okay, yeah.
Something like
that. The
that.
band are just waiting for him to come in, and he'll bend a note in this solo, and he's there forever. And you can see his fingers wobbling, and the sustain. And we'll talk about how he achieved that sustain.
Yeah,
is unrivaled.
But how? I find it quite aggressive. We talk about vibrato lots.
Yeah, there's so much attack in his vibrato, I think.
Well, and it all depends. I find it differs depending on whether he's applying vibrato to a bent note or whether he's doing it to just a regular note in the scale.
Right.
So now neck pickup's probably the obvious choice for this. Roll a little bit of the tone off with some volume.
Yes.
But he's not.
Well, that's the thing. So in that
Really grab it by the scruff of the neck and give it a good shake.
in the intro jam, when I was playing that lane, that's more subtle because that's just in the middle of a run. But if he was doing without overbending it, he's really putting some emotion into that.
I think Parisienne Walkways might be a better example of that. So, like the first bend of Parisienne Walkways, you'll have to forgive me. I've got the tab here just because the internet Reddit will get cross with us if I do it wrong. So he's going to bend the first note in Parisienne Walkways, and he's going to bend that D note, 15th fret of the B string, all the way up to an E. But when he hits the E,
You can straight away
give it a little wobble. Now it's one of the most difficult things in vibrato to try and do. Bend and add the vibrato.
top of a bend, yeah.
And the best advice I can give you is really squeeze your guitar neck like you're holding a cricket bat. Yeah, don't let go of it.
That's another thing he did.
Yes.
He used his middle finger so much for bends. I don't know about any of you lot, but I just can't do that. I mean, your hands are like shovels compared to mine and a lot of people watching. But I think that arguably that's uncomfortable for you as well. For me, when I'm bending, I always recommend using 3 fingers. So say if I'm bending the 14th fret on the G string, I'm going to bend my ring fingers driving, but my middle and first finger are there to support. But I couldn't fathom like I overbent there because I put too much into it. It's like trying to write with your left hand. It just feels weird.
I think the way you've got to think about it is don't try and, like I find with vibrato, especially aggressive vibrato, students tend to give themselves, they kind of shake the whole arm and the guitar's running away from them when actually, I don't know if you'll be able to see on my camera here, I'm sort of pivoting on the neck and only like the back of my knuckle is touching the fretboard and it's almost like I'm trying to open a door.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you can hear that. You can hear my ring hitting the bottom of my neck. That's to illustrate my point. And I'm overdoing it, but you can hear it. Yeah. That's a fantastic exercise.
Is, yeah.
The first couple of notes of Parisienne Walkways, 7th fret of the D, 2nd fret of the D, 3rd fret of the A, and give it a really good wobble.
Okay, so can you play that exact thing, that intro, and then the main riff without the vibrato?
Sorry, with the intro.
Yeah. Now, I'm right in thinking, see, that sounds polar opposite.
Compared to...
And doesn't he slide those beginning notes away as well? That was it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of slides in there with...
I think there's a bit of studio
There's some iterations
tomfoolery going on with that.
Yeah.
But I think The point we're trying to make is really aggressive player because of the gear that he used to try and sort of, especially in the early days, trying to coax as much gain out of those old Marshalls yielded a generation of guitar players. And it's not just Gary Moore. Somebody like Randy Rhoads, Mick Ronson were all the same, where they were really physical with the guitars. They were really heavy-handed to try and get the most out of it.
Just listen to Crazy Train.
Yeah, exactly.
That shuffle
at
the beginning. He's really laying into it and shuffling that pattern.
So if we move on to his technical focus,
okay.
Moore did not record The Boys Are Back in Town, it says on the crib sheet. Can you tell us a little bit more
As far
about
as I'm
that?
aware, Boys Are Back in Town was 76 or 77.
Right.
Moore came in as a stand-in in 74, but then him and Phil Lynott fell out. So, bye-bye Gary. He then joined for 78 for the Black Rose album, which the title track on that album was Do Anything You Want to Do.
Right.
Which has a blistering intro. I think it's just running through the pentatonic scale, but it's got a layer of harmony over it.
Right,
They're all on the timpanis as well. But then like Dancing in the Moonlight as well, that's not Gary Moore.
Is he not?
No, I think I can't wait to be corrected. This is going to be fun. So we just want repeat business, of course. So we want people to come and correct us. He wasn't in for that, but yeah, he came around for 78 for the Black Rose album, Do Anything You Want to Do.
That going on a massive tangent, when was Chinatown? Was that much later?
I think that was earlier.
Do you?
Actually.
Right, okay.
I know someone...
I really enjoyed learning that for the YouTube lesson.
Oh, it's a wicked... It's got such an input.
Don't ask me to play it, because I will be. But again, I talk about that sort of Irish influence, regardless of whether it was Gary Moore or not. It's all triplets.
Well, of course, Lynott, even though I think Lynott was High Wycombe or West Bromwich or something, too geographically, but he was still an Irishman, I think.
Yeah.
Because Whiskey in the Jar was pre-Gary Moore as well.
Right, okay. I know somebody that's done a great lesson on that. If anybody
definitely.
wants to.
Well, I also know someone who is my brother, actually, bass player. He is obsessed with Lizzy.
Right.
And he's going to be banging his head against the wall throughout all of this. We're trying.
You're welcome, Johnny.
Yes. Yeah, but no, Phil and Lynott, even though they fell out, it's a bit like Lennon and McCartney.
Right.
When music was concerned, they always came together. So if you look at Parisienne Walkways, Lynott takes a verse on that.
Yeah.
And Gary sings the vocal harmony. And in the fields, it's a duet between the two of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, mega stuff.
So what about his big bends then? Like how when you looking at the live clips of him playing Parisienne Walkways and he's sort of stood on the stage, spotlight's just on him, and he just does that massive bend, and he's there all day. He's just hanging on to that note he could be sat there all day. Don't give a toss.
Yeah.
How does he coax that sustain out of his guitar?
He well, it's the gain neck pickup. Mm-hmm. That's what he's doing. So I put a bit of drive on. He's going into it for that. And you think the Marshall, 12-inch speaker, 10-inch speaker? 12s. The amount of air that's moving.
4 of them, mind.
4 of them. Now, if I do it without the vibrato, that big bend, it will eventually start to tail off. But that vibrato on his big fat bend is going to keep that note.
As well, I remember reading up on this years ago.
Okay.
And if you look really closely at those live clips, you'll see a big cross on the stage masking taped. And what happens is his guitar tech before every show would find where his Les Paul would get the most feedback.
Oh, right, okay.
And he'd have to stand in that place. He'd obviously, his guitar would be cooking.
Yes. It would start to fill out.
But as my notes starting to die off, the feedback loop would start, and it would, like, that note would still be ringing out.
See, we can't really recreate it because I'm quite analog, to be fair, with this Cerberus unit, but you're fully digital.
Yeah, I'm using the quad today.
We're both into the katanas, of course, despite all the backing. We're still very good friends with Boss. But digital, this is the thing. People talk about analog versus digital all the time when it comes to amps. These amps behind us here, you crank these up. We did it in episode 6 of season 1. Mm-hmm. You just can't beat the presence in the room.
We should do that again sometime, George.
I think off camera, because things are going to get hard and loud very quickly. Yeah, you just can't digital. Like, you can come up with a fantastic tone on that quad cortex, and yeah, it's pretty convincing. Mm-hmm. But you just it's analog, it's mechanical, it's physical.
So how can our viewers get say they've got a little Boss Katana 50 at home, how would you dial in that sort of Parisienne Walkways or still got the blues kind of tone?
Not a lot of gain. More volume than gain.
Right.
I would say go to if you're using a Katana, go to arguably the pushed, if you're privileged enough to have a Mark III, or crunch. I wouldn't go brown.
Right.
I would actually go to the full 50 watts, and you need that head, because they have a lot of headroom. Bring the volume up, and you will find, especially on a set of humbuckers, you will get that crunch that you need and that space to allow it to do what he's doing at those live shows. On a smaller level, you could put it on, say, brown, instant win. The Katana does the work for you, and then you'll start to get all that oomph and grit. What would you do?
So, slightly disagree with you a little bit on that,
fine,
but we're all friends here.
Yeah, I do.
But also, I think this highlights the point that there's a couple of different ways to go about this stuff. You don't, it's the end result that matters, not necessarily how you got there. So just before we do that, I want to talk about his rigs and what he uses, and then with that knowledge, we'll build a guitar tone on the Katana platform. Okay. So as I said before, there's 3 eras, and I had to write this down because
specs are going back up
that's
again.
It.
Yep.
Right, Thin Lizzy era, mid-70s. His main guitar was actually Peter Green's old 1959 Les Paul.
Yeah, he bought that in 1974 for about 100 quid.
Yep.
And Peter Green said, have a good life. I don't need it anymore. Because I suppose at that point, things were looking pretty bleak for Peter Green.
What did they call it? There was some sort of incident, wasn't there, where he sort of took too much acid and it had all gone a little bit.
Well, there we go. Sadly, he's no longer with us, of course.
I can't remember what it's. There's some law around it all, but basically, he took too many drugs. His brain turned to mush. Sold his guitar.
Well,
to
Sid Barrett, Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
But then, of course, Kurt Hammett bought it from a private collector in 2014.
Yes.
Wasn't from Gary Moore, because Gary Moore left us in 2011.
Yes. Now, I know of the dealer that brokered that deal, and it's really misrepresented. Everybody thinks Kirk Hammett paid $2 million for it, and he didn't. It's actually, I don't know how much, but I've heard it from the broker's mouth himself that that's not what he paid.
But, yeah, Greenie, a 1959 Les Paul gold top.
It's not a gold top.
Is it not?
No, it's a standard. It's a 59 standard.
Is, of course. Yeah,
not a gold top. That's because I was talking about gold tops earlier. Yesterday,
if you look at Kurt Hammett talking about it, because Gary's not here to talk about it anymore, it has a very thin sound, but that sort of like Kurt describes it as being sounding like a Strat sometimes.
So what the modification that he'd done is they took the neck pickup out and literally turned it backwards. So instead of the screws being this way, we're facing this way, and mounted it in that way. And there's some sort of like reverse polarity with the magnets that gave it that sort of Strat-like quality. In the Thin Lizzy days as well, he was also known to use Strats and a Gibson SG. For amps, he was using a Marshall Super Lead 100-watt head, which is the predecessor to one of these, which is like, it's not the JTM 45, it's not the Blues Breaker like Clapton was using with John Mayall. It's there's a very clear lineage in Marshall amplifiers, and as the years go on, the amplifiers get more and more and more distortion, overdrive on tap. This is kind of still a quite early and rudimentary version. Now that means, as I said, Mick Ronson and the like were playing those amps and really having to give the guitar a smack to get the gain out of it. Yeah. So that's kind of what I feel like that was really pivotal in his guitar tone and his playing style. Fast forward to 1979, he's still using Peter Green's Les Paul to record Parisienne Walkways. He's using Marshalls again, but then he's gone on to not JMP.
You found it was on your tongue yesterday.
It's not JCM. No, it's not a JCM. Anyway, somebody will correct me.
Yeah.
No, it's still the Super Lead, but it's the mark after the JMP, I think. Okay. Anyway, regardless, he's using Marshall amps, but he's using 2 of them this time with 2 4x12 cabs, so he's moving loads of air to get that sustain in Parisienne Walkways. Fast forward to 1990, at this point, he'd sold Peter Green's Les Paul. He'd actually sold it long before his passing. And he got involved with Gibson and made a load of his own spec, basically. Yeah. So he was using still a 59 reissue, but you've got to think about it. If you have arguably the Peter Green's 1959 Les Paul is one of the most coveted guitars of the world. Like, if that goes missing, that's a bad day.
There's you can buy an Epiphone. There's so many versions you can buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from that point, it gets a little bit more technical. He goes to Soldano amps,
Soldano's, yep.
which there's a whole subset of amplifier brands that take the Marshall platform and add even more gain into it, which was really popular in the 80s. Clapton used Soldano in the kind of like lay down Saleh, slow hand kind of era. He was using Soldanos then. Yep, that's it. And then he's getting into sort of recording, using a lot of rack gear and a lot of that sort of stuff. But what that tells me is, depending on the era, dictates how much gear you want, how much overdrive, and how much
I'd agree with that.
Saturation you want to play. So I prepared. This is a Marshall JCM 800 profile on the Quad Cortex. Big, lots of presence, huge. And I'm thinking, still quite crunchy.
Yes.
And we used it for
the intro jam, yep. To me, that just is the 70s lead guitar tone, or even rhythm guitar tone, even.
Correct. So then what I've done is
I've put
a blues driver on the top of it, which is kind of your Parisienne Walkways mid-era. So I'd use neck pickup, take a little bit of the tone off,
and put the volume It's not quite woman tone, is it? But it's getting there.
Yeah, it's creamy, I think is the word that you're looking for. So then, as you get into the third era of his tone, this is what I call saturation. Now, this is a clone pedal put in the front of it. So my amp sounds like this. If I put the pedal on, that's called saturation. It's overdrive, but it doesn't sound like a wasp in a jar.
Yeah.
What you're trying to create is presence and loud, and it makes you think of more like Van Halen and
Darkness, yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
It's your because these were filmed amps at the back of the room at 1 million volume. That was quite cool. Yeah. That sort of stuff.
So, point I'm trying to make, really long-winded point I'm trying to make, but this is when I'm making a guitar tone, this is what I'm considering. I'm going, what are they using on the record? So, with a Little Boss Katana, how would I get that? I would definitely use the Brown sound.
Okay, fair dues.
But what I'd do is for early, I'd set the EQ all to 12 o'clock, and then maybe take the treble up to maybe sort of 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Depending on the guitar.
Is that to compensate when you're knocking the tone off and your neck pickup?
No, that's just to make it cut through a little bit more, to be honest.
Yeah, because it can get quite muddy otherwise.
Well, your Les Paul's quite bright in comparison to this one, and that's not a Gibson Epiphone thing. That's just, you compare this to my custom that I recently got, two completely different guitars.
Well, if you had this is a 2013 Les Paul, if you had another 2013 Les Paul from the same production line, it would still be different, I would argue.
Some guitars are brighter than others, and that's kind of a bit like salt and pepper. Your bass, middle, and treble is kind of like, that's your business, I'm afraid. I can't help you with that. Now, depending on whether you're playing early Lizzy stuff, if I'm playing Whiskey in the Jar, I know Whiskey in the Jar wasn't Gary Moore, but let's just put it all in the same box.
Yeah, Thin Lizzy's Thin Lizzy.
If I'm playing Thin Lizzy stuff, the gain's probably at about 9 o'clock. If I'm playing Parisienne Walkways, the gain's probably about 12 o'clock.
It's really crispy as the tone on Whiskey in the Jar, I think.
And I think that's what you want to retain is the treble. And that only comes from speakers that are really doing the job and really working.
If you listen to the beginning, the main motif of Whiskey in the Jar, it's almost like you can hear the cardboard pad in the speaker crisping up. Like you can sort of see it. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. It just sounds a bit naff, but it works.
And then you get into sort of later stuff. If I'm wanting Still Got the Blues, I'm turning the gain up to about 3 o'clock because I want to be able to hang on to a note and to garner a bit of that sustain. I'm seeking sustain and saturation, not distortion.
Well, do you know who else did that? Got cleaner.
Loads of reverb too.
Eddie Van Halen got cleaner as he got older.
Right.
Every album, there's
in every aspect.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's got teeth again, and he's cut his hair. Every album. He gets cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. You look, really got me. It's screaming.
Yeah.
But then if you take it down even to Panama, which only a couple of years later, it's actually getting cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. But the riffs aren't getting cleaner.
No.
They're getting nastier and heavier, but his tone, and it's just purification. Mm-hmm. And that, I think that's the mark of a really true guitar
I also think that's having more of a budget to have good quality recording as well. I'd love to have seen Van Halen back in the day as a party band to see what they were like before before then. But anyway, we're getting off piece a little bit.
We
So
are.
a really long-winded way to kind of say that's how I'd approach his guitar tone. And essentially, you want to add more saturation as the years go by.
Mm-hmm. Can you play Gary Moore on your Strat or your Telecaster?
No, don't be ridiculous.
I only have a Strat or a Telecaster.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
Of course you can.
Neck pickup. For his lead lines. Slash did that as well.
Yes.
If you look at Slash playing Sweet Child of Mine, he's playing his lead stuff on his neck pickup and his rhythm on his treble. A lot of people would be the other way around.
Yeah.
But there is a lot to be said. Like, if you looked in the intro jam, when I went north of the 12th fret, I went up to the neck pickup because otherwise it's just too crisp and nasty.
Yeah. So I think we'll leave that there for today.
I think we should because we could be here a lot longer.
We could be here all day, and we've got things to do.
We have, and we've got another Thin Lizzy inspired Gary Moore jam to finish, so no pressure.
Excellent. Right. Let us know who we should cover next in his Tone Talk series. We did Brian May a couple of weeks ago, and we've as yet not got another one for a couple of weeks' time. But,
There's loads of people we'd like to do, but we are not worthy for the people we'd like to talk about.
Let us know in the comments who you think we should cover next. We'll catch you next week, guys. Thank you so much.
Cheers.